They told me grief would get easier with time. They told me to be strong. They told me she's in a better place. They told me everything except the truth, which is that grief doesn't shrink. You grow around it. That concept of moving on is a myth designed to make everyone else comfortable. Today, we're dismantling the grief myths that keep us stuck and exploring what it actually means to live, not just survive with loss. If you're tired of being told how you should be grieving by now, this one's for you. Welcome to Haven Hub, the space for women who are tired of feeling stuck between what feels like a rock and a hard place. I'm Lolly, a life coach and your guide and fellow traveler for strong, high-functioning women navigating life's hardest chapters with dignity and honesty. And each week, we name the quiet struggles, unpack the emotional weight, and explore the shifts that move you towards clarity and what you actually want. You don't need to fix yourself, you just need a way through. So today's way through is about unlearning all the grief myths that have you questioning if you're doing it wrong. 6 weeks after my mom died, a well-meaning aunt told me I should be moving forward by now. As if grief was a flu I should recover from. As if my mother was a chapter to close rather than a presence woven into every fiber of who I am. Now, here's what I've learned. We don't move on from grief. We grow around it. Think of it like a tree growing around a fence. The fence doesn't disappear, but the tree keeps reaching towards the sun. So today we're going to talk about the myths that keep us small and the rituals that help us grow. So the first myth I want us to address is that grief has stages and an endpoint. The 5 stages of grief is one thing that everyone talks about. The funny thing is that they were never meant to be a roadmap. Dr. Kubler-Ross, who created them, he actually created them for people facing their own death, not for bereaved families. Yet here we are, trying to check off boxes. Are we in denial? Is there anger? Are we bargaining with ourselves? Are we feeling depressed? Have we finally accepted? And then what's next after that? Does that mean we are now healed? No. And this is why the 5 stages of grief doesn't necessarily reflect our true process. Now, the truth is that grief is not linear. There is no straight line. It's actually more of a spiral. So you're going to feel anger on a random Tuesday. 2 years later, you'll bargain with the universe in year 5. Acceptance is not the destination. It's actually something you're going to have to practice daily, sometimes even hourly, because it's hard to believe that you've lost someone. The next myth I want us to address is the fact that you might need closure. People love talking about closure like it's a door you can shut. And once you have closure, you're going to feel better. But what closure is there when someone you love is gone? There's no final conversation that ties everything up neatly. When my mom died unexpectedly, there were 1,000 conversations we never had. Questions I never asked. Things I never said. Waiting for closure would mean waiting forever. And grieving while living your daily life looks more like learning to live with the open questions, learning to live with the unfinished conversations, and the permanent incompleteness. The third myth I want us to address today is that strong people don't fall apart. This myth almost killed me because I was so busy being strong, organizing, managing, supporting everyone else, that I struggle to let myself actually feel. Strength isn't the absence of breaking down. It's breaking down and still getting up and getting things done. Still getting up and doing the thing. It's crying in your car and then walking into that next meeting. It's falling apart and trusting you'll find your pieces again. Eventually, thank God, I was able to, cry in the quiet moments with my spouse or with my siblings. So at least I had that eventually. So the fourth myth I want us to address is that people say things like, time heals all wounds. Unfortunately, time does not do that. Time does not heal grief. It more teaches you how to carry the grief better. My grief for my mother isn't smaller now in any way, shape, or form. I feel like I'm more stronger than anything. I've built the muscle around the weight, and now I'm able to carry it a little bit better. So some days I carry it a little easier, and some other days it brings me to my knees. Both situations are normal. Both, unfortunately, are forever. The fifth myth I would like us to address is when people say things like, You should be grateful for the time you had with her. Yes, I am grateful for the time that I had with her. Gratitude obviously matters. But when you start forcing the gratitude, it almost feels like you're bypassing the spirituality of it all. Like when people rush me to be grateful and they say things like, well, at least you had a wonderful mom. At least you got to say goodbye. It kind of feels like being told my pain is invalid. You can be grateful and still feel absolutely devastated. You can cherish what was and still mourn what would be. Like they can and do exist in the same space. So if the myths are lies, what then is true? So here's what I've learned about actually living and not just existing with grief. The first thing I have learned is that grief is love with nowhere to go. Your grief is proportionate to your love. So the depth of your pain reflects the depth of your connection with that person. When we try to rush through the grief, we're actually trying to rush through love. And so what if instead we honored grief as evidence of our capacity to love deeply? The second truth I would like us to address today is that you're not moving on, you're moving with. I carry my mom with me differently now. So she's in my voice when I set boundaries. She's in my head when I say I can't adult today. And she's saying things like, time waits for no man. Get up and get it done. That's what my mom always said to me. She's in my hands when I cook a specific recipe that she taught me. She's in my decisions when I choose courage over comfort. I'm not moving on from her. I'm moving forward with her in a different form. So the third truth I would like us to address today is that grief changes shape, not size. In the beginning, the grief felt like an overwhelming tidal wave that was trying to knock me over on an hourly basis. And now it's sometimes a little gentler, more like a thunderstorm or like a rain. Sometimes it's a little bit of a gentle rain, sometimes it's a thunderstorm. And sometimes it can just be like humidity in the air. So the grief didn't shrink, I just grew around it. My life got bigger. I'm creating more space to hold both the joys and the sorrows. The fourth truth I would like us to address is that new rituals replace old routines. We used to call my mom every other Monday or so, and now what I do instead is I talk to her out loud on those days about my week. And I talk to her about all the things that I have accomplished and all my worries, all the things I used to call my mom about and be like, oh, this, that, and the other. Like, I can do that out loud to her by myself. She's not there for me to call anymore, so I do that by myself. And there's a soothing aspect that comes with that. Sometimes I call my siblings to discuss certain things that need brainstorming that I would normally call my mom to discuss with her about, because she was so good about talking about projects. She knew where you could look at, and she would pick at it and make sure that you've covered all your bases. And she always knew someone who could help you kind of in whatever aspect that you needed. So these rituals don't replace her in any way, shape, or form, but they do give my love somewhere to go. It's not stuck in my chest, in my heart, feeling like a weight. I feel like I'm still sharing that love somehow, some way. Now, if you're ready to stop fighting your grief and start growing with it, I've created something special. I've created something called Grief Journal Prompts. It's just 30 simple creative prompts designed to help you feel connected. Things like begin a story with, if you were here right now, you'd laugh at, for example. Or put on your loved one's favorite song and move however your body wants to move. Dedicate a joy to them. So this laugh was for you. Record it in the journal. All this kind of thing. And again, these aren't about healing or moving on. They're actually about living with the grief, integrating with it. It's about finding new ways to carry your love. So I want you to download it. It's free. It's at havenhub.live/freebies. You'll see it in the link in the show notes. So moving forward, I want to give you a permission slip. Yes, you heard me. A permission slip so that you get to grieve however helps you grow. Here's your permission slip today. You get to grieve however helps you grow. Not what makes others comfortable. Not what the books say. You focus on what helps you. Maybe you're a physical griever. Maybe you need to move your body. Maybe you're like running, or you need to do yoga or dancing, or some people like to rage clean. I find that movement helps you metabolize the waves of emotion. I myself like to go for walks with my husband, clear my head, clear my mind, talk about some things that are heavy on my heart. That helps me a lot. Your ritual might be a daily walk where you talk to them. I personally prefer walking with my husband and just talking about my mom and talking about all the things that I really would love to talk to her about as well. And it just helps me free up that weight in my chest. You might be a creative griever, so your process might be you painting or writing or cooking or, building something with your hands. Your ritual might be a grief journal or creating art from your pain. So everyone's different. I also love to journal. That's very important to me. I need to get my words out any way I can. And maybe you're a spiritual griever. You find comfort in connecting to something bigger. Maybe you pray or you meditate or you go into nature or you look for signs from the universe. Your ritual might be going to church or something like that, or listening to worship music playlists or something like that. That's what I tend to do. So I'm a bit of a combination griever, as you're probably understanding by now. Some days I need to lift some weights in the gym till my legs start shaking. Other days I need to write a letter to my mom. Sometimes I just need to listen to worship music because it soothes me. It makes me feel like I know she's in a better place. And other times I just need to ugly cry with my siblings or my husband. So living with grief happens when you stop performing grief for others and start practicing it for yourself. When you stop asking, am I doing this right? And start asking, what do I need today? You've heard some of the rituals that I've tested. All I'll say is not all rituals stick. Some I did once and never again. Others became daily practices. The point isn't perfection. It's experimentation and see what works for you. If you're exhausted from trying to grieve correctly, from fighting your own heart, from believing the myths that make you feel broken, anything like that, it's time for a different way. This is why I built Haven Hub's Grief Growth Workshop. It's not about moving on, it's about growing forward. So we will explore your unique grief style, build sustainable rituals, and create a community with others who understand that grief is not a problem to solve, but a love to honor. So we dive deep into integration practices, teach you how to handle grief ambushes, and give you scripts for every helpful person who thinks you should be over it. So thank you for listening today. If this stirred something in you, send it to someone who'd get it too. You never know who's holding the same thing quietly. I'm Lolly, and I'll see you next time. Until then, keep choosing yourself. Bye.